We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. Also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, it's Andrew.
Welcome to episode number 15 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast, or as we're calling it this week, the Napcast, because we are all quite tired.
Working staffs.
Exactly. This week we are going to talk exclusively about Star Wars, more specifically The Last Jedi. And since Star Wars always ends up being a topic that we talk about for an eternity, we'll launch right into it. Now, Scott, this movie made has made almost $1.3 billion as of that'd be Monday of the week that just passed, since all of you are going to hear this on Sunday. So obviously it's not as bad as some of the things I've heard. Tell me why.
Well, the reason I think it didn't do so badly as everyone makes it, well, first of all, everyone who complained about it had to go see it first, so they all had to pay Disney before they could complain, and that's why most of them are complaining. They think they wasted their money. And everyone's welcome to their opinion, but I disagree.
You're wrong.
I already said that a lot in my rant, so I'm going to try to avoid saying that too much during the podcast. I'll be a little nicer for the podcast listeners than the YouTube watchers. But anyways, I love The Last Jedi because I think it was one of the most unique Star Wars stories in films. It had a bunch of... We all had certain expectations, I think, going into The Last Jedi, and I think the people who were the most upset about it are the people who were held their expectations a little too seriously. I had expectations, and they were blown away, and I liked that. I was surprised by a lot of the turns and the different things different ways they went with it. We're doing spoilers. I'm just gonna say it right now. We're doing spoilers.
Yeah, no, this is no holds barred.
I just want to make sure for the listeners. I agree. I'm just saying for the listeners, just in case, before I say any spoilers, I just wanted to clarify, because there was certain things that a lot of people were against, like Leia having Force powers, the fact that Rey's parents are nobodies, and the fact that they just killed off Snoke without telling a story. That stuff, I had expectations for wanting to know answers to that all, and the fact that they just were none of it matters, I was happy about that. I was just oh, okay, what are you going to do instead? And they haven't really told a lot of story yet, but that's what the next movie's for. It's a trilogy. I'm patient. I'm not I know Star Wars isn't going away. This was they're called episodes for a reason, because they're technically just movie TV shows in a sense, right?
Gigantic TV series.
Yeah, it's just a really long-awaited mini-series.
Exactly, and it's just instead of breaking it up into 6 mini episodes, they just give you one long movie, and I like that. And I'm I can wait for the next season of this TV show, and I'm just it's a cliffhanger to me. I like a lot of the things they did, but that's the way I feel about it. I know. But what do you guys think? I know, Craig, you had a few problems with it, didn't you? I know you were saying you did.
I don't know if I have problems with it, because the way that I've looked at this trilogy and all the other, Rogue One and now Solo that's coming out, the way I've looked at it is, for most of my life, I never thought I'd see another Star Wars movie again.
Yeah.
And so I see it entirely as gravy. And that's the simplest way, I guess, to put it, is that they could kill everyone, the entire universe, in the next movie, and I'd be yeah, that's just kind of how it goes.
That's just that's what you guys get to do.
Bring on episode 10.
Exactly. You guys do it.
But we got another Star Wars, so I'd be happy anyways, right?
I'm not really a person who's entirely critical of a lot of things.
That's how I usually feel about just movies, to be honest.
Yeah, so you could, as long as you're not as long as it isn't garbage, especially with Star Wars, they can do whatever they want, because I don't have the brain to come up with this. So
I don't know, man. Our pitches sometimes are pretty good.
I know, but they're isolated.
I like to think of it as we don't have the money to do this. We don't have the money to make a movie. Something. That's what I said in my rant. I'm like, did anybody dish out, anybody who complained about this movie, did any of you dish out $200 million to make a Star Wars movie? Because I didn't. I don't have that money. Like, I would. If I had an extra $200 million that I could waste on a movie, I would.
I'm not even sure I have 200 I could waste on a movie. Like,
any millions that I could waste on a movie, like, I would make a movie. But, like, that's not 100% my passion. So it's like, leave it to the people who got in the business to make movies.
My issues have more been, I would say, centered around the fans. You get so with the new trilogy, you get a lot of new walk-on fans, which is fine. You do your thing, but don't show up and then talk through the entire movie because you missed the Force Awakens.
You don't know what's happening.
It. And then you spend the entire time sitting behind me in the movie theater in Niagara Falls, talking about how you haven't seen the movie beforehand, and you go, "Who's this guy? Well, who's this guy?
Who's this guy?
Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that?" And the other thing that's bothered me.
Yeah.
Just because now I'm like all worked up. I was asleep 2 minutes ago, but now I'm worked up. The scene,
the adrenaline pumping.
Exactly, the scene where they destroy Snoke's ship. My favorite part of the movie. I'm not afraid to say that. It's my favorite part of the movie.
One of the best scenes in all of Star Wars.
I don't even care about the scene. All I care about is the fact that they had the presence of mind to shut the soundtrack down and just have dead silence.
Perfect.
For that,
and you just see different angles.
Exactly,
of the same thing.
And it's like the most realistic space explosion aside from the fire that I've ever seen, because there's that gap,
the vacuum of space.
Exactly, there's the gap in sound where you don't hear anything, and both times I've seen the movie, people have been making explosion sounds, and it makes me so mad.
So what you're saying is you're going to buy the extended Blu-ray edition just so you can watch that scene on repeat.
I'm going to put it on whatever it is that I'm going to watch it on with my earbuds in. I'm going to turn the sound up as loud as it can possibly go, and then I'm going to close myself in a closet and lock the door.
The only reason Craig would ever buy Bose headphones is for that scene.
It's funny that you say that. Now this is off topic. These are actually Bose headphones that I'm wearing right now.
Wow.
That is kind of funny.
Did you buy them exclusively for when Star Wars comes out?
No, I've had these for years.
Damn.
I know.
Foresight.
I know.
But I could definitely see why that ruined your movie experience. I would have shouted, to be honest. I'm a shouter. Like, people don't like being yelled at, and I will yell at you. So don't talk in my theater.
Well, you would not like going to the movies with me because I am a problematic talker. I've
gone to enough movies with you that I've learned to know how to handle it properly. Because you don't talk during the parts that it
exactly. It's
it
one
matters
thing to,
much.
It's
you
one
know
thing
when to
talk,
interject. Yeah.
And it's another thing to spend the entire movie talking.
Exactly.
I like to think I just give out little comments here.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mind little comments. I'll make comments to myself sometimes, which is terrible the couple times I've gone to the movies by myself. I sound like a crazy person. Families around me decided to move down an extra sheet, which I was cool with. I like my space.
Now you've got more room.
Yeah, exactly. It was get both both armrests for my elbows.
I'm going to put these armrests up so I can lay down like it's a couch.
Exactly. Lying down. I forgot my pillow, but guess what? I got a jacket I could use.
Hey, kid, give me your popcorn. That's my pillow now. Yeah, for the most part, for me, breaking down this movie for me, I decided to go pros and cons list.
Let's hear your pros and cons.
I'm going to start with the cons. I'm going to give you the bad and then work my way into the great.
Okay. I like it.
So, basically, I had 6, but then I combined 2 of them to make 1. So now there's only 5 things. One of the big things for me that it didn't hit me while I was watching the movie, but the more I sat down and started to think about it, it kind of eats at me. And it was just the way they kind of rip on the Western world's commercialism. Using the big Las Vegas scene and how it's all it is just
it was a little too in your face.
Greedy white collar people is what it is.
Yeah, that's what the symbolism was supposed to be. I agree. That was a little too.
Greed is the main issue, which to me that really had no place in the Star Wars universe. Greed was.
I completely ignored that and went straight to the War Machine reference. when they're in the stolen ship after, and he's like, look, they made stuff for the bad guys and for the good guys.
Yeah,
that was what I took most out of that, was that it's a money making thing more than these evil.
See, for me, I'm looking mainly at just like the Las Vegas like recreated like city.
Well, it was
the casino.
I get what you saw. I don't know if I saw past that, but I saw something different out of it, I guess.
Yeah, like that. The scene you're talking about, definitely, like it kind of.
Yeah, but the entire thing is that these people all make their money off of selling
everything in general.
They're all arms dealers basically.
They're all profiteering off of the like death of everybody in the galaxy.
They're not arms dealers. They're weapons contractors, which is an entirely different thing. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That and like, why the hell did they even bring Phasma back? Like, it seemed like, to me anyways, the only reason they brought her back was so that she could be like a condescending bigot, like that.
Just
that was
it. It's action figure.
Like literally they honestly the way they set it up in The Force Awakens, like I thought they killed her. Like, it seemed like they did a little side version of throwing her down the dumpster and crushing her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it seemed like to me, and then to bring her back for literally 5 minutes of screen time, where she doesn't do a damn thing other than hopefully die.
Yeah.
Like, the only good thing that she produced was a couple of sound bites where all she is a condescending bigot.
Yeah, but she had to fight the other character that had nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, like.
Because,
but like, I just picked up on like her bigotry and how like she was very like, we're better than you guys. You guys are scum.
Yeah, she
like, so I took that and the commercialism. I was like, oh, that's the Western world. So okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the traditional like. This movie did have a lot of like kind of like political undertones that I get why a lot of people were upset about. I can ignore some of these kind of things, to be honest, because I know like it does upset me
those
that
things were
there.
things I didn't. Pardon? Yeah, those things I didn't notice until like after the movie.
Yeah, I'm in the same way. Yeah, like the more comments I've read about it, like there are a lot of stuff about that. Like when I was doing research for the rant, I was reading a lot of like reviews, like critic reviews and fan reviews, especially since they were all upset about it, and most of them were upset about like the same kind of thing. I don't think we're as upset as those types of people, but I definitely kind of see where they could be coming from with that, and same with you. Like they did have a lot of focus on it, and I care more about lightsaber fights, to be honest.
Yes.
And space battles and like flying spaceships into other spaceships. That's what I want from Star Wars, and I get why people were upset.
The good stuff.
Exactly, and I agree that there was a lot of the other stuff, but sometimes you gotta like. I grew up being told you got to eat your vegetables first. You know what I mean? So that's the way I kind of see it.
You got to suffer through so you can get the good stuff.
Yeah, and so you have to sometimes give some of that stuff to like the studio and for like pretty much business sake in a sense. Like you have to play politics to do good business, right? And that's the way I see it. And I get why a lot of people are opposed to it. Like I said, I'm really good at ignoring certain things in a film, but I can definitely see why like. In hindsight, why we'd all might be a little upset about it. But what's your next con?
Yeah. Okay, my next con is just how they spend the first, I'm going to say third of the movie, building up Snoke without showing too much of him to be this unbelievable superpower. He's extremely force sensitive. He's like the biggest bad we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then that's frickin' it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm serious because I just censored myself.
It was a letdown.
Like, that's it. He's there, and then just by accident, boom, done.
I'm thinking about it again.
Like the only thing I can hope is that he knew that was going to happen, and like he had these, like he's so in tune with the dark side of the Force that he can see the future out of it, and he knows that Kylo Ren's going to cut him in half. So he's hoping, like, he's pushing him to do it so he can become this Sith ghost and kind of mentor him from, like, the Sith ghost side of it. Like, that, I got to come up with my own explanations in my head to justify the
two
ridiculousness.
Things that I think about that scene in particular are, first of all, the fact that there's so much build-up and then he just kind of dies out of nowhere is kind of a semi-genius plot twist in a terrible way.
In a terrible way.
They also like they set him
dance
up
around it, but they do like it is really sudden, and you see it coming, but you don't expect it.
You're like, are they really gonna? Is that it?
Just,
is that gonna?
Yeah.
Is this how they're gonna do it?
They set the character up to be so in tune with the Force, like he can connect to people mentally.
Yeah.
But he can't figure, like he knows when they're using the Force, but he can't figure out that this guy's doing it like 10 feet in front of him.
But at the same time, he is kind of the perfect depiction of the Sith, where they have such an ego.
That's what I was gonna say too.
That he's just beyond blind of the fact that he's like, yeah, Kylo Ren's never gonna turn on me, and then he ends up with a lightsaber in his gut.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
The only other thing for me though is, how did he get cut in half?
Well,
like he was a big dude.
He wasn't
Kylo Ren's
he was skinny.
He's very thin around the waist.
He wasn't this thin though.
No.
Yeah, but
like the blade went through him, but there was no wiggle motion.
But if it went through, at least hit his spine, and then came straight out.
It wouldn't sever him in half though.
I kind
of see what you mean.
Physics.
I know what you mean.
The physics of this don't work.
This is all camera angles. We could be talking perspective wise too. Like it could have been behind him, started you know what I mean, and then came through.
It came through this way. There's no way in hell it would, unless it wiggled a bit or he
maybe it had like a slight turning motion, because he was turning it on the table, so maybe it had that like nth degree of turning motion. Does that make sense? Like a little bit.
I don't know. I'm just
trying to give you some movie logic.
And if it turns a tiny bit at the handle, out at the edge, it's going to be a huge. 40
years down the road, I'm still gonna be like, no, shouldn't work, can't do it. No,
I didn't think a whole lot about that, because during that scene, I was just like, oh, are they doing it? Oh, is he gonna notice? Oh, no! I was just in shock. I was the guy in the theater who made the most noise. Like in both times I saw this, I was the guy who was just like, yeah, and everyone else laughed at me, and I was just like, fuck you people, you don't enjoy Star Wars.
Star Wars Episode 23 is going to roll out, and I'm still going to be like, no, they shouldn't have cut him in half. Wouldn't work.
I hope they make 23 episodes.
You and me both. Yeah. So on to my third thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And this one isn't entirely just on the back of Star Wars. It's just, I'm sick of seeing it in general. And that's the grand sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars, like
nobody knows what autopilot.
They just happened to exactly. They
Nobody
just
has a
happened
brake
to
put
use
on the gas.
Leia has force abilities. Just turn it around yourself.
Like
yo, purple girl, get in an escape pod. Leia can just force control it from the other ship and send it back the other way. Communication was the really problem with this whole movie. Nobody, all these women talk about they're good at communication. None of them communicated properly whatsoever. They didn't even talk to each other that much. There's a whole miscommunication amongst the whole thing. That's why so many people died.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Laura Dern's character was very, very secretive.
Yeah,
she kept everything tight to the chest. But her grand sacrifice,
kind of lame.
How basically everyone was willing to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah.
The Asian girl at the start of the movie who has to, she's dead anyway, so it wasn't really a total sacrifice.
I wouldn't put the two of those together.
But I don't know, she went out of her way to make sure it happened. Me personally, I would have said, this ship, even if it blows up, these bombs are going down, or some type of metal is going to crash into this. Well, why do I have to drop the bombs? Just get up to the control pit and crash the ship. She had to they had to extend that scene for her to be as heroic as possible.
I think they had too many kicks for that. I was just give her it on the first or second, the second kick.
Don't
make
if
it
it's
4
not working
kicks.
after the first couple, you're probably not shaking the entire ship that's also on fire.
Yeah, that's been rocking this whole time anyways.
Exactly.
It's getting
Why hasn't
shot
it
up.
knocked it down? If it hasn't fallen down yet, it's not going to.
Yeah, but one thing we're all forgetting though is movie physics, movie science.
Movie physics.
Well, okay.
Back to the movie physics.
That completely gets rid of the fact that
movie physics will cut you in half when it shouldn't cut you in half.
Exactly.
And then it'll keep things from happening until you absolutely need it to happen.
And they'll make
gravity
it so
changes. It's all these things.
You do this. They do the slow motion falling of the controller down
and speed it up as she
down the hatch.
Yeah.
and then it goes past her, and she's still
And then
laying
last
on her
minutes,
back,
yeah.
and then last second she's on her stomach, and has somehow managed to catch it with her left hand while it passes over on her right side. It was just like, no, it was gone. Sorry.
Yeah, that whole scene.
She should have had to jump, like that would have been a better scene, like where she had to fall
earlier.
and catch it.
Actually sacrifice a little bit. More
Yeah,
like
she knows she's gonna die. Like,
see, we would write a better Star Wars movie already.
We could. We just can't produce it. That's our problem.
Or fund it.
If you guys want to kickstart,
we don't have the legal
game.
rights to do any of it. But whatever.
Man,
we already made one.
Exactly. We made Les Revanches des Nerds, which ripped off 2 separate movie franchises. We ripped off Star Wars and Revenge of the Nerds to make them one. It did get taken down off YouTube, but
we were pretty special back in high school.
Did it actually get flagged so many times? That
Because
we used the Star Wars theme
soundtrack.
Oh, that's great. Well, I just didn't think you guys would have had enough, because sometimes your YouTube videos can hide in a sense because there's
Sony didn't
so
like
many.
It. Nope, Sony didn't like it at all.
They came after us.
Wow, that's hilarious.
I'm surprised they didn't take us to court.
We used like 3 or 4 tracks off the original. My dad has the CD of the Star Wars
This just makes me feel so much
soundtrack.
better about never using movie trailers in any of our videos.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so my next con is Leia doing her Mary Poppins impersonation.
I hated every second of this from the second I saw it.
Okay, she didn't fly though. Do you think she was
Mary
flying?
Poppins.
She went this way.
Yeah, because in space there's no gravity pulling you to the ground. You float.
It looked like Mary Poppins.
She
not
did
so
a
much
force
It was Mary Poppins, man.
She did a force pull and pulled herself to the ship.
She was Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins has an umbrella.
If you put an umbrella in a bag in her hand, she'd look like Mary Poppins, Scott.
No, she looked like she was in outer space floating because there was no
Yondu
gravity.
didn't have an umbrella, and he Mary Poppins did.
They were close enough to a planet that
Which
was
brings
gravity.
me
there was
which
gravity
brings me
because
my
they were close
to
enough
my
to a
theory.
planet.
Which brings me to my theory. Disney is just using Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Star Wars: The Last Jedi
To hype up
to
Mary Poppins
pitch
returns.
and to hype up their upcoming Mary Poppins movie.
I like this
I will
conspiracy theory.
100% disagree
I'm
with the
sticking with the
Yondu
pop.
part of that. And
Come on, man. Just let me have my theory.
I just disagree with everyone thinking that she flew. Because she
No.
didn't.
It's not the flying part. It's the it looks.
It's the appearance. It's the thing that it reminds you
Okay.
of. Nobody here is saying that she flew.
You're saying they could have done a better job with her CGI figure and
Absolutely.
which position she was in.
Better yet,
is
they
that all?
could have
So
let
she
the
was too
bitch
much-
die in space.
Yeah,
See, I
they
would've
should
okay
have
with
let
that
her
too.
die in
They
space,
they
and
kinda
that is my opinion.
I think we could
A
all agree
spoonful
with
of
that.
force
we all love,
kept her alive.
We all love the late Carrie Fisher. We
Yeah.
do.
R.I.P.
May she rest
Exactly.
in peace. But I think that would have been
Her
great
character.
That should have
Like-
been when she died.
If she doesn't get a more glorious outgoing
In the
in
movie.
the next one, then I'm gonna be really upset that wasn't when she got killed. Because I was ready.
Bet money.
I was ready for her to
They'll
die.
just
Then
write it out in
it
between.
happened. I was ready for her to die, but then they surprised me, which I gotta admit was the happiest moment of my life. Not really.
Or even if they leave her behind at the end
Yeah,
of
something like
The
that.
Last Jedi. Leave her and be like, you guys go, I'm going to take care of them. My turn to become
You
a
would have
Force
taken
Ghost
a
or
great
something.
another great sacrifice.
Yeah.
Well, see, I was always
Just to
I
get
was
rid
ready
of the
for one
character in a
them-
way I can swallow.
We have to lose all the original trilogy guys through this trilogy. I hope you guys all are prepared for that. That's going to happen. It
Yes.
has to happen. They can't be around forever. I've been prepared.
Mentally, it's already happened.
Exactly. I've been prepared for her to die in this one for a long time. I don't know why it was her. I just thought because I thought Luke would make it further because he wasn't in the first one really. He wasn't in the Force
Luke
Awakens.
will make it further, just not in his corporeal
Yeah, now
form.
he's a Force Ghost, which I'm cool with. I like that. I like that he's gonna come back as the Obi Wan type Force Ghost and just yell at people.
I hope he's just as sassy as Obi Wan
That's
was.
why same.
Wait,
that's why I want
Again,
back.
Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan or Alec Guinness Obi-Wan?
See, in this case, it is an Alec Guinness.
It
Because
has-
we never saw Ewan McGregor as a Force
Yeah,
Ghost.
it has to be Alec
Has
Guinness.
to be Alec Guinness?
But if they want to bring back Obi-Wan, have the Force Ghost, now all of a sudden they reverse in age, they Benjamin
which I
Button
think
that
they
shit.
could, and then they just have to kind of bookmark it as, oh, this is the way they would know him as. Like, this is the image
Yeah.
they would know him as, because like the last time anybody saw,
like you see it as like you saw it type thing.
You see him as like how you think he would appear.
So everyone looks at Obi Wan, let's say, differently. Like, let's say, I was around in Star Wars and I knew him when he was like 14, and I would see his Force Ghost as 14.
Because that's the only way you knew Obi Wan.
That's the only way okay.
Or if you only knew of Obi Wan in Legend, like some of these people might know, like you'd only know the rumors.
You would see like a charcoal drawing version of him.
Exactly. So you'd only know him as like maybe his younger version too, like because after
whatever
the Jedi
you picked him up as.
Exactly. Okay. That's what I think of it as. Like that's how you.
And then give us Ewan McGregor. I'm down.
Exactly. It's like
he volunteered to do this movie too.
Sorry, I kicked my mic. But what I was gonna say is like Rey. You could explain it as like Rey saw like a hologram. Like from the Jedi Temple back in the day, and that would be Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, right? And so then that you could like justify it in that way, like, oh, she saw this holo recording, so that's how that's why he would appear to her like that, like as his younger appearance, in a sense.
The more you talk about this, the more I want to see Rey go up against Kylo Ren, and her having like her shitty lightsaber that she doesn't know how to build, that she built herself.
Yeah.
And then like the final battle scene between her and him, and then all of a sudden just have thousands of Force Jedi ghosts right behind her, just like all fake ghost lightsaber out, just ready to go.
As awesome as that would be, I don't think
like Lord of the Rings style, where it's Aragorn going after them, and he's got the ghost army behind him, and he's got his sword up like that. Rip that scene off 100% and just have the Force Ghost.
I want her to be the king of the Force army.
Yeah.
As cool as that would be, I think that that would go counterintuitive to where this trilogy is going.
Because I just want to see it happen.
They're kind of renouncing, especially with the last one, they're kind of renouncing the Jedi as an organization.
Well, so that was one of my pros, is that I like that they finally said that the Jedi is a religion.
Yeah.
And they've also shown that Kylo Ren has has good and bad, and Rey also has a good and bad, because she got like sucked in immediately to the dark
she
side.
was ready to just go to the dark side. She
was like, cool, let's do this shit.
Temptation was like she just gave in right away. It's like, wait, what?
And then
you didn't even think that hole. I wouldn't even look in that hole right away.
Yeah,
I don't care how many Force powers
I can't fit in that hole.
It looks slippery. You got a rope.
I don't have a towel. I can't go swimming.
I don't got my swim trunks.
But yeah, like I like that, and even their whole fight, like where I'm gonna say it, the best lightsaber fight I've ever seen.
It was really well choreographed, and I liked how it wasn't too, like it seemed like they were actually trying to hit each other. Like sometimes in sword fights in Star Wars, or not just Star Wars, like lightsaber fights in Star Wars or sword fights in general, you see in any movies, it seems a little showy and not enough. Like you wouldn't be able to kill somebody doing all this like stuff. Like, but that fight, I felt
more dramatic than legitimate.
And this seemed more like
an
actual
fight.
type of like he's trying to cut her in half or trying to disarm her in a way, and it's like you can feel that, and I felt that was really well choreographed and like well shot too. I love the how they switched between different like slow-mos and angles for that.
Oh yeah, like my feeling on that is I like that the whole fight happens because she wants the good to come out in him, and but she knows there's the dark in her, and then he's doing it because he knows there's some good in him, but he sees the dark in her. So like they both want to work together, but for different reasons.
Yeah, it's really kind of.
And then at the end of it, she's leaning like, should I help him? Nah, let's just blow this.
I really like how she's just like, don't do it, man. Like, are you serious? Like after they finish,
like all that, like look at all the people we just murdered.
Like we just. Like you want to go murder more? That's her look. Like,
we killed everyone.
Like you want to just keep doing this? Really? Don't go there. Like we spent this whole movie. Like I felt like that would have been a great time for a fourth.
I saw you without a shirt. Okay, come on, man.
I thought was a very weird moment. Anytime someone's got their pants up that high, I'm like, what's the point of this shirtless scene? Put a shirt on. Like I didn't even see. Like we saw nipples. We saw nipples and arms.
Yeah.
What? What?
Not even abs. Not even.
We saw a ab. We saw one at the top. I'm just like, what? Those are the worst part of the abs.
The weird ninth ab.
Yeah, exactly. That's your diaphragm, kind of. It's your diaphragm pushes that ab up.
Okay, so that was my one pro. Back to the cons, just to finish it up.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge con. Like I like that, that it happened. It's the way it happened. And it's that Luke literally kills himself so, he can just get away from... he just taps the fuck out. That's what it is.
It's very reminiscent, incredibly reminiscent of how Obi Wan dies.
The only difference is, Obi Wan, he just, becomes one with the Force. It just happens.
Yeah.
Whereas Luke, they literally show the scene of him forcing himself to have, an aneurysm. You actually see him, well, forcing so hard.
Well, yeah, because he's physically somewhere else.
Well,
here's my question.
It was a force projection. He wasn't physically anywhere.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. You couldn't tell.
Well, I suspected something when he does the one dodge. There's this one dodge where he does pretty much the limbo underneath the Kylo Ren. I'm like,
I don't know.
There's something wrong with this. I was just like,
I took that scene as it was a flashback when he when they show that scene after it.
Yeah.
I look at it as a flashback. Him projecting himself. He projected himself as a younger guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him in his prime. That just seems weird to me that he would see himself as a different dude to project himself.
Well, no, that's just that's a little. That's kind of like what I was saying before, but just applied to yourself.
I saw it as he killed himself and then he forced.
I don't even think it's how you see yourself. He just went with how he.
I see it as he killed himself. Done. And then the Force Ghost on the planet, that's him. That he is a Force Ghost now.
Oh, see, no, was him Force projecting. I know you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, but that's been a thing in Star Wars Rebels.
That's a thing now.
That's a thing in Star Wars. Yeah, they can project.
When the fuck did this happen?
Yoda and the kid in Star Wars Rebels did it.
Oh man.
This is season 2.
I liked him killing himself.
And they kind of allude to it where Kylo Ren says, "There's no way you're doing this because it would kill you."
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because what it is though is he's tapping into Kylo Ren. It's what Kylo Ren and everybody else remembers him as, because no one's seen him in 20 years.
That's
so fair. No one knows him as the gray guy on this thing, right?
Well, I said to Craig, when he walks into the room to talk to Leia, I was like, "Yo, he got a haircut."
Yeah, and then she says, "You got a haircut."
I didn't notice this at all until after I saw the movie and I watched reviews. To be honest, I didn't notice that he looked younger. To be honest,
I mean that would be the first thing I notice is the.
You're a hair professional.
He looks cleaner.
Yeah, like I said, that wasn't the thing I'm invested in, is his appearance. It
was
it's all I'm invested in.
I was happy you showed up. I was somebody who wasn't questioning anybody. You guys question the movies so much, and I'm just like, yes, Luke's here. He's gonna fight them all.
I didn't question it. It was just little things here and there where I was like,
he said at the beginning, "Do you expect me to take a or laser sword and fight the whole thing?" And he goes and takes a laser sword and fights the whole thing.
And so the first time I watched it, I was like you, Scott. I was super excited about everything. The second time I watched it, I tried to pay more attention to what was going on, and then that's when you notice the things.
That's fair. That's
start to stick out, like the part where he's like, "What do you think I'm gonna take? Are you just gonna go stand in front of the whole First Order?" And then later on, he goes and stands in front of the whole First Order.
Which makes that line just a little funny. You're just kind of.
And a lot of people took issue with the shoulder swipe too.
I love that.
It was awesome.
It's arrogant as hell. You have to do something after.
It was
because nobody knows how he survives that. At the when it first happens, I know I'm thinking was it force? What did he do? Shield. Was he not actually? That's what exactly. It could have been anything, and I was just like, oh, what is it? And then he just does that, and I'm just like, oh, nice. Looks like.
And it was so old Luke, not. Because by the time you get to the Return of the Jedi, he's
he's
super refined and I'm so far.
He's a little
he's so
darker and more
removed by the time he gets to Return of the Jedi, but it was so close to young Luke Skywalker, which is kind of what I liked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd love.
See, I'd like to see a robot chicken or any animated thing really. Cutaway of that where they do that scene, but then as the smoke starts to clear and you see Luke there, like, have him just sitting there, like, squatting, taking a dump or something. Or just turn around, taking a piss, like, just give me a minute.
He's on his cell phone.
Give me a minute, guys. I thought I could get away with this.
Sorry, one more minute.
Yeah. Sorry, when you get to be my age, there's problems sometimes.
Yes, yeah. When it says it's time, you just gotta stick with it.
Oh, exactly. Like, but I gotta say, like, I have way more pros than cons.
For sure.
But part of me can understand where people are coming from.
Definitely.
It seems like Disney in general has taken their Marvel equation for what's worked for them, and then started applying it to every other movie they'd use.
Yeah.
Not just franchises in general, but they say, okay, let's make these guys snarky and sarcastic, this many jokes, this many romances for no reason, and here you go. Give me $1 billion, please.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah, they definitely have a formula that they put it all through. Yeah, it's manufactured. It's an assembly line that they just input different things into. And
like one of the reasons I loved the original trilogy was it wasn't love for and romance forced down your throat.
Yeah, no.
And like
I agree.
Even in this one with Finn and what's her face Rose. Like, trying to force that when obviously...
at the end.
Obviously Finn and Poe...
Obviously
Finn and Poe, like, they've got a sweet bromance going on. Like, I want to see them shack up. I don't want to see this Rose chick come in.
I want to see the last two movies done without the character Finn.
Wait, what?
Because he's so useless. Aside from the one
you're very right. All he does is kind of feed...
Aside from just kind of tiny little bit that he does at the beginning where he defects and like that helpful bit, I mean, like
all he does is kind of feed the emotional fight.
Trilogy starting at all?
All he does is wander around and whine.
He's the MacGuffin. You don't get it. He's a human. You know what a MacGuffin is, right?
No.
He's the thing that gets he's the object in a story that just is there to keep the story moving.
I don't need
a plot device is another word for it, I guess. Like
he worked. I do see where you're coming from, Craig. Like he worked in the Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
But all he does is kind of just spark emotional fires when he's just like, I'm just trying to survive, bro. Like my whole thing is just me just trying to not die today.
Which is why I connect well with him because he's the ordinary person in it. Like he's he's a little bit of Han Solo, a little bit of like. I don't know who else from the original because he's not full. Like when I say that, I mean he's not like super involved. Like he doesn't want to fight. Like he doesn't want to fight against the First Order. He wants to get away from them. Like every time he's fighting with the Resistance, it's because he has to get away. Like or to save save his
trying
friend.
To flee.
It's like save the one chick he's ever met in his life. That's the other part you guys got to remember. He's kind of that second like love interest for I think. Rey a little bit, just like a little, like they want to keep that as like an open option, so that there's a slight triangle there in between.
Kind of like if Finn was.
See, I haven't picked up on that at all. Like I haven't picked up on that at all. I've always kind of looked at it like more of a brother-sister relationship. Like they've been through some shit together, so like now they're,
Yeah. I feel like I'm a little too movie trained, and I just assume that everybody's supposed to get together. All main characters are supposed to get together.
Everyone's supposed to shack up.
If you have two male leads and one female lead, you're gonna have a love triangle unless they're related.
Well,
and even that doesn't stop Star Wars.
Finn is most attached to the two other people that he met first. Or the three, because he's kind of got a small attachment to BB-8.
So what you're saying is he's connected to the story because he only knows all the main characters of the movies.
Yeah, but I could do without him is my point.
Feed him to the porgs and then feed the porgs to Chewbacca. Then we won't have to worry about him at all.
Oh my god. You know what? Speaking of that, I saw a children's book called Chewbacca and the Adventures of Chewbacca and the Porgs.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, oh god, I think they're trying to like.
Someone took the time out of their day to write that story.
On the fact that Chewie was totally trying to eat some.
That's all it was.
He was trying to eat some pork.
And he got guilt tripped by some big brown eyes. That's all. Like
that was some more of the political
same
stuff.
as when I'm eating delicious chicken and my cat and my dog are sitting there staring at me. I'm like, no, mine.
Yeah.
And I still cave and give them a little bit of meat. It's the same thing of them saying like, "Don't eat him," even though he's dead and cooked.
It's too late. That's all I'm thinking. It's like it's not going to save anything. Like if I was Chewie, I'd have been like, Meaning,
do we have
you're
to
next.
assume that they're do we have to assume that they're intelligent? Is that the point now? Is that we have to assume that these animals are intelligent just because it knew to look up at them and be like, oh, I'm also
See,
sad.
I get the feeling that they look at them as just as like placeholders. Like them hanging out on the dashboard. I don't know why Chewie just didn't squash them like a bug.
So
unless he wanted them to be like the bobblehead hula girls that they use, like people get from Hawaii.
So what I read
knew those,
is that
yes.
they're actually
plush toy.
the porg. Well, besides the fact that it's obvious merchandising, the porgs are actually placeholders for puffins, which are
the puffin birds,
which they could not physically remove from the shooting in Ireland. And they didn't want to spend the money to physically edit all the puffins out. So they
just turned them into
the puffins.
Well, yeah, because you could put a program in saying, identify there are programs that can pick out pictures of puffins. So it's so
every
find
time
there's a puffin,
and we'll put in a porg instead.
Yeah, no, I get, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's a money saving technical device. That's all the porgs are.
That's brilliant. I love that.
It's not even a money save, it's a money maker.
I was reading it on IMDb. While you guys were talking before the episode, and I looked like my eyes were glazed over and I was sleeping, I was actually just reading all the trivia.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
See, I didn't get to the trivia.
Actually, it's right here. According to director Ryan Johnson, the porgs were the result of puffins being native to Skellig Island, where the acto scenes were filmed. They were unable to move them as they were a protected species, and it would have been too time-consuming and expensive to edit them out of the shots. So Ryan decided to create a new indigenous species and simply CGI over the puffins. So it's cheaper to put things over top than to try to physically remove and find what's actually behind it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you don't know what's going to be behind it. Computers have a really hard time guessing.
It's the same concept as it's cheaper to cover Superman's mustache than it is to try to get rid of Superman's mustache.
Yes, exactly, which is a whole other
Opens
topic.
A whole new can of worms.
I figured you guys would appreciate that callback.
No, I do appreciate it, yes.
I do. Justice League callbacks. We always have callbacks every episode.
Yes. I love that they invent, that kind of makes me like the porgs a little bit more, is that they're not just like merchandising, but they took advantage of the fact that they had to create this new thing.
A little more brainy.
They went ham with it, because obviously these things weren't on the the puffins.
Falcon,
exactly.
no.
So it's like, they put
just
those
did all
ones
the
in
backgrounds of all the shots.
Exactly, right? So it's like, I like that they put that little extra thing in, but I also
Except for the ones where they do carry it over, though.
Yeah.
Into the...
Which is where I was going to say, I honestly think that, what's her name, who's the one that runs Lucasfilms? I'm guessing that she is a vegan. And, because this movie had a little bit of, animal rights undertones as well in the political.
Yeah, with the weird
let the
horse things.
Let the horse things go. Yeah. It's like that was completely unnecessary to the whole plot. Yeah, I'll give that to everybody. That whole thing.
Well, it's a good device to get them out of the city.
Well, I agree. It was a good and I kind of saw it coming as soon as they
why not just steal a land speeder or something? They would have found a junker speeder somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have done that.
Steal a golf cart and pretend it's a helicopter.
Yeah, they could have done a lot of things, or snuck out of town. But I mean, the whole plan wasn't thought well out. But I think we should all remember.
I'm sure the sewer would have they could have climbed into would have led to the ocean for sure, which is by the beach, which is where the ship was,
and the ship wouldn't have been blown up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. But we have to remember neither Finn or Rose
is intelligent.
Yes. Well, they're not trained to do that. Like Finn, he was a stormtrooper, but he was
their brain.
He was in maintenance, though. I mean,
dude, I cut hair and I figured this out.
But we've watched a lot of movies in our time.
Yeah, but you're not in a movie needing plot devices.
That's the other thing.
True.
Yeah, our lives.
You don't know that. Maybe we are.
And you would have missed two very important symbols. First of all, you wouldn't have got the hacker character back into it again.
I didn't. I know what he did for the story, but I didn't need it to be Benicio Del Toro. I didn't need it to be an A-list actor.
I liked him so much in this. I like his voice and the way he
talks.
I don't know why.
There were very few things that I would say that I really liked. One of them being the gap in sound of the explosion. The other one being the way that they did the force joining of Rey and Kylo Ren. I really liked the whole aesthetic to it.
Mm-hmm.
how it looks like they're in the same, but it's actually two separate camera, like different camera shots, and the
but
sound
like they can see what's going on in each other's.
Exactly, and I liked Benicio Del Toro's voice. I like the tick. I loved it.
I just didn't need it to be an A-list actor. Like I would have liked some grad student or something. Yeah,
that's
give some no name guy.
But in Disney's defense, besides just wanting a big name, a lot of these big names want to be in it themselves.
In
right?
the Star Wars movie,
like famously, Daniel Craig was just did a stormtrooper cameo in The Force Awakens, and it's like
so let Benicio Del Toro be Captain Phasma. Just wear the suit and then use what's her face's voice.
Maybe his thing was he wanted to actually star in a Star Wars. Like, what if that was your dream, is to star in or to like be?
What do you mean? What if?
Yeah, fair enough.
What kind of hypothetical
is this, Scott?
I'm the one they need to put in there.
That's fair.
Come on, man. Your argument just fell apart.
My next pro was that if you worked your whole career and you never had the chance to star in a Star Wars film, wouldn't you?
I haven't. Well, that's the thing.
You haven't been working towards it your whole career.
You don't know that.
I do. You haven't acted that many times.
You don't know what goes on in my shop.
Hey, we've been in a Star Wars film, okay? It was not
Revanche des nerds.
It was not licensed, but we were. In fact, you were Darth Vader, for crying out loud.
I was a lot overweight Darth Vader, but I was. Anyways, my next pro, I like that once again they recycle the ships, like the TIE fighters, the Imperial Walkers. Like all they do is just beef them up, and I said that on the previous Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
But I like that they don't take something that's not broken and try to fix it. They just say, it's good enough.
Yeah, or they slightly tweak it, like they did the beach walkers for Rogue One. This one, they're called something different. They're a different type of walker, but you're right, they are beefed up so that they can't be taken down by like pull cables. I think is what I read. Or tow cables.
So they can't be taken down by tow cables on snowy planets.
Excuse me.
So on a side note for that, I just found out recently that TIE. Like, I've spent my whole life thinking, like, it was an acronym, but I knew it was, but it's not what I thought it was. I always thought it was, like, the Imperial Empire.
No.
Like, it made sense in the back of my head.
And I was like... Empire. Okay,
I'd never...
The Imperial Empire fighter,
Fighter, yeah. That's what I always thought it was. It made sense to me. Nope. Nope. Turns out it's, was a twin ion engine or something like that?
I think so, something like that, yeah.
Because it does have
I was just so disappointed when I found that out. I was like, oh man,
in fact,
the Imperial Empire fighter made more sense.
I just thought it was tie because it looked kind of like a bow tie.
Like a bow tie.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was tie fighter.
I think that was part of it. That was probably part of it.
It was probably the start, and then some punk ass kid with a podcast just came up with like an acronym for it, and then it stuck.
Well, it does have two ion engines on the back of it. I have a model here, and there are definitely two engines in the back.
How do you know they're ion?
Well, I mean,
that was a joke. I'm just being a dick.
I played a lot of Battlefront 2 this week. Okay, everything has an ion engine in it.
He was doing his prep work for the podcast.
Yeah, that's good. I haven't played either of the new Battlefronts yet.
So, two of my other pros, I've already touched base on them. One of them is that they off Snoke, which I'm glad about.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that they killed him off that fast, but I'm glad they killed him because I hated him as a guy.
That's fair.
Like, good plot character, fucking shitty dude. Like,
poor Andy Serkis.
Like, it still aggravates me that the guy made his entire career off doing doing the stop motion stuff CGI, or whatever, CGI stuff, characters.
Yeah.
Like, it aggravates me that he became that guy, but like, I think it's just jealousy that he gets to be at everything because he's that guy.
Yeah, like
it's not like he's bad at it, and he's had it.
No, it's just that he does everything.
Well, yeah, it's very emotive.
He's got a fantastic voice.
Yeah, and well, he's very he can very he's really good at with body control and controlling his face. Like he's really good at emoting things with his face, which really works well for these different characters. Yeah, especially in CGI if you're gonna be playing an ape. I almost said monkey, but I corrected myself because it's Planet
Good
of
call.
the Apes.
Apes, not Planet of the Monkeys.
Planet of the Orangutans.
Yep. So
Lemurs.
the other one that ooh, I think that's just called Madagascar.
Yeah.
So the other one that I mentioned already was that I like that they finally call the Force a religion. I've been waiting my whole life for them just to acknowledge it, because that's what it was. Yeah, the Jedi, sorry.
Yeah.
And they finally acknowledge that it is. And they outright say it. They don't kind of, beat around the bushes. They just go for broke and they call it that.
And I kind of like that it's Yoda is one of the ones kind of encouraging the fact. I think, like, the way I see it as is that it was a religion, and that there was things in the Jedi religion that you were supposed to take from, but you weren't supposed to, like, go as ham
Some
as
things
they
you're
went.
supposed to take literally.
Yeah. Exactly.
And other things you were supposed to take figuratively.
Like
and the whole
much of
point was
religion,
you're supposed to be able to tell the difference. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think the
whole
lesson
point
from
is you're
Yoda
supposed to tell the
was.
difference.
It just took a lot of the Star Wars people way too long to figure it out. That's all it comes down to.
Way too long.
Like, Yoda knew it the whole time, but he was too busy doing whatever Yoda does to tell everybody, apparently.
Let's be real
Fighting
here.
seagulls is what Yoda was too busy
Yeah, yeah. Seagulls. Stop it now. That's twice that song got referenced.
I did actually randomly come across that video.
I was gonna say, I think
so
we said
good.
it,
And I was like, this is what they were
watch it.
talking about.
It's so
what is
good.
this?
It's so
But
funny.
let's be real. Like, old man Yoda, like old man, original.
Yeah.
Jim Henson puppet Yoda.
Muppet Yoda.
True. It wasn't a puppet. It was a Muppet. That's true.
It is a Muppet because it's Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Jim Henson. He was the most baked son of a bitch in the history of anyone who's ever smoked weed.
He's been in solitary confinement for years.
Messing around.
That dude's baked. All those fumes you see coming off the water there, that's he just hotboxed that entire planet's ozone layer.
Yeah, he was a little cuckoo.
You can tell by his laugh, like
that's
the dude's just
that's
baked.
what I was attempting to just do. Yeah, it was when he first meets Luke and he's going through all Luke's stuff.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you got munchies?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm just thinking. Like,
that's
that guy
all it
is
is.
burnt. He's looking for some snacks. It's been so long since he's been off that planet. He hasn't had a chocolate bar in ages.
Or when he blows or lights the tree on fire, he's probably, I burned stuff like that. Let's light that tree blunt. He's just even Force Ghost Yoda is just baked off his gourd.
Let's talk about Force Ghost Yoda for a second here.
Yes.
Because I thought he was an excellent mix between Muppet Yoda and CGI Yoda.
It was CGI, but also had the look of
I think they used a
Muppet
natural puppet for it, and then they CGI'd over, is what I believe I read about it.
Like recorded the Muppet and then just
CGI'd it,
turned it. Yeah, okay.
But they do that a lot now. Like anything that's like CGI'd for the most part, like a costume that's CGI'd now. Like Iron Man, he'll wear like a kind of Iron, like pretty much like a foam Iron Man-esque thing, and then they're able to edit in the rest of it onto it because it helps with the lighting.
Well, same with Captain America, right?
Exactly.
He just wears like a spandex suit with like the logo and shit on it, with just like the little blue dots they can work around.
Exactly.
Or green dots or whatever.
They can fit in more of his muscles, so he looks and stuff like that.
More shredded.
It's more natural because it's like he's actually wearing it, so that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it bends like a human would bend.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's the light. They get the light. They're able to like get the light properly measured when they build it that way. So like when they add,
they don't have
CGI
to do any
of it,
crazy. They don't have to make any crazy exceptions in clothing physics.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're wearing it,
as opposed to movie physics.
Yeah.
Which those laws did not get broken. On my next point, which we'd already touched base on too, is the best lightsaber battle ever.
Yes.
Because that it still gives me goosebumps. Like just that whole fight, like 5 minutes of just awesome.
Yeah, it was a very good scene.
Like even they're both gonna walk away from it. More or less unscathed. Still, like I remember sitting there like, oh my god, like is someone gonna lose a hand? Someone has to lose a hand. What's gonna happen?
Everybody loses a hand.
I'm gonna be honest. I was slightly disappointed nobody lost a hand in the whole movie. I wanted somebody to lose a hand. I'm like, yeah, it was a throwback to the original.
Even if it was just accidental.
Like they did in the prequels. Even like, why not do it in this one? Like
they did it multiple times in the prequels.
Exactly. You even threw a foot in there.
Yeah. just to balance it out.
Give me something. Cut someone's finger off, for God's sake.
Even if Finn was just like running through the ship and tripped and fell and broke his arm, and they're like, "Nah, man, can't save it," and then BB-8 just comes over and hacks it off with his own mini lightsaber. He's like, and then Finn's just like,
I want that to be a deleted scene right now.
Like, even if they did that, someone has to lose a hand.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the number one pro I have from this movie, which is Daisy Ridley.
Of course.
Of course. I had to give her my love.
That's good.
Had to make it happen.
Yeah, she did a great job.
So that's my list.
That's good.
So you must have really liked that scene when she goes into the hole in the island.
And there's just
like
infinite number of
1,000 Daisy Ridleys.
Yeah.
Which I forgot to mention it before. Was one of my other favorite ones just because of the way they did it again.
I enjoyed that
where
too.
It was just one after,
I like that they didn't go with...
I focused on the aesthetic in this movie more than I focused on
the cinematography for this movie was fucking unreal.
I agree with that. That's one of the things I actually really noticed about this one too. Was just it was
well, like I said about
shot.
I liked I think they've done really well with the last two.
If you take the story entirely out of it, like what happens and everything, and just the way they put the order they put everything in, and like the fact that they're willing to spend the money where they need to spend the money,
exactly,
without cutting corners unnecessarily, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's just like they use CGI only when they like really have to, and when they do use CGI, they put the money into it. They're just not doing cheap CGI. They put the time and the money into making sure it got done right, and that was really well done. And it was really noticeable, I thought. Like I think that's one thing I don't think a lot of people are pointing out is how well shot and well done it was in general. Like just the technical stuff behind it. Like let's get past the fact that it's a Star Wars film. As a film, it was just shot beautifully, and just like stuff like that. The technical part of filmmaking that I know nothing really about, to be honest, but I can still enjoy.
Yep, I think it was artistic too, in the way that they did some of the atmosphere to it. A lot of these, well, yeah, I would say a lot of these blockbusters kind of have that glossing over it.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair point.
Yeah. Sorry, you guys froze for a second. I thought I was sitting here all alone.
We just left. We just like,
not this week, man. I'm done. I gotta go watch. I gotta go watch this movie. Bye, guys.
I didn't watch anything.
Let's let Craig talk. All right, artistic. Yes, I found that I think at least a lot of these blockbusters kind of get rid of the artistic factor to it and go for the showy, the flashy, the plot lines that you're kind of looking for, and remove the whole soundscape to it or the visual effects that you're getting. Yeah. And I think that these last two have really kind of combined all those parts together.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
And when I say last two, I mean The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
I figure that's what you meant.
I don't want to...
The actual trilogy members.
Because I don't want to include Rogue One because I haven't watched it in a long time, so I can't really compare it.
That's fair. I think I've actually watched it in like a year now, actually. I can't remember if I did.
Really that long? It's been like 2 months for me.
It's been a while.
It was part of the...
I just can't remember if I got to it. I think I honestly just skipped that one because I'd watched it. I watched it like 4 times when it came out, though.
Yeah.
Like twice in theaters, and then when it came out on DVD and Netflix, I watched it twice right away. So.
Exactly. So I'll keep Rogue One out of it for now, but in terms of like, I definitely rewatching The Force Awakens, I can remember noting a lot of the way that it was done artistically and technically, and then same thing with this one.
Yeah, like I believe like some of the space shots sometimes, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't get like taken out of the movie by some of them. I'm like, oh, that looks super CGI. They use like a perfect mix of like clouds and just enough like glare, like glare from like a nearby sun or something, and just
that is
tricks
believable.
Of light. Yeah, exactly. Like in Rogue One, actually, they have the one scene that I still remember from like the trailer is like when you first like come across like the Death Star, and you like start off, it's all black, and then you see like
and then
ship
it comes
coming
out of the shadow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that I remember was a very well shot, and I just remember thinking like I believe it. Like I felt like
that
I was almost outside
that goes right
ship.
there with the original line in Star Wars, where they say that's not a moon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's no.
And it's not a moon. They weren't lying to you.
No, it wasn't a moon.
Not at all.
Unlike Starkiller Base, which was a flippin' planet.
Still the best name ever.
Yeah.
We should change our name to Starkiller Podcast.
Starkiller Base Podcast?
Yes.
I feel like both of those are 100% taken.
Hey.
I guarantee
Let me dream.
Starkiller Napcast. Problem solved.
Yes. There we go.
I think we can work with that one.
We're the Nap Killer Podcast because we're awake right now instead of sleeping.
Napping, yes.
All right.
I just gotta say that this movie gave me hope that I'm calling it now. I don't think the Han Solo movie is gonna meet my expectations.
That's fair.
Not even from reading anything about it or like any plot points or the graphics or anything. I just look at it and I don't see Han Solo, and I don't see Lando Calrissian. I don't see those guys in those characters.
I know what you mean.
I don't think they look anything like even like a young Harrison Ford and
I've always had that
young
same
Lando.
problem.
Like,
I agree. Yeah. Like
they don't look anything alike to me. So I'm gonna have a hard time getting fully immersed in it. But it does give me hope for episode 9, and then leading into the Obi Wan movie.
Yes.
Which Liam Neeson this week was talking about. He'd be down to sign in and bring back.
Yes.
And bring back, or even if they did I want to see him come back, Qui-Gon.
I would love.
But they'd have to bring back Ewan for it, which that's my rule.
I feel like
Disney, if you don't bring back Ewan McGregor,
do that one because I feel like they're regretting this Han Solo one now, with the trouble they're starting to have and the fact that.
Well, this week they just announced that they're pushing another 4 to 5 months. I think I was talking to you about this, Scott. Yeah. Pushing it because they watched the final product and said, "No way, we need reshoots."
The movie is unfortunately the hill I have to die on with my draft, so I'm fine with that. Push it back 4 to 5 months.
Make it as good as possible. See, I don't think it's gonna shit the bed.
Get it as far away from Infinity War as you possibly can.
See, I'd
agree with you on both those points, Craig. I think they should delay. I've been saying they
for sure.
Since I found
out it doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. It's dumb. Like they don't even have Marvel movies. Like their Marvel movies aren't this close together, and
even if they push it to November, it's going to go up against Aquaman. And just from a business standpoint, Warner Brothers being like the only legitimate major rival of Disney.
Yeah.
It makes sense to try to cut into
they have to put it up against Aquaman to try to take some of their revenue away for themselves.
Well, I mean, and this year, Justice League came out in November, and then Star Wars came out in December, and just killed any sense of any more money being made for Justice League.
Any potential pickup money,
so they could easily put it 2 weeks or even a week after Justice League. And they'll 100% just suck that money out.
Yeah, vacuum the money.
Even if it's terrible.
Even if it's terrible.
Which it could be the best movie ever made, you guys. It's still not gonna. Yeah. It's still not gonna sit flush with me.
He's not our Han Solo. He's just not my Indiana Jones.
It's not.
He's not my president that was in what's it called? Air Force One.
Yes.
He's not my Harrison
Ford. A clear and present danger.
He's not your fugitive. And
he's not my fugitive.
And
he's not my was a Patriots game.
He's not the he's not your Blade Runner, and he's not he's not the local tough in American Graffiti for you. I'm there. You've seen American Graffiti, right?
Actually, I haven't. Yeah. I keep meaning to get to American Graffiti. It's one of those it's just one of those ones I forget about, to be honest.
It's the best movie about people going up and down the same street in a small town I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, Campbellford.
Yeah.
And that's because it's George Lucas's first film, right?
It's technically his second, but it's his first major film. I did a whole thing. I was obsessed with George Lucas for a while.
I could see that.
It was his first major film.
Like I said, I always forget to get to it.
It's good. It's not like you'd walk away from it going, man, this is the best movie I've ever seen, but it's good.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a little bit strange, but it's Harrison Ford as a youngish man, because he's not young.
He's never been young.
It was definitely the best
movie.
He was
born a grumpy old man.
Yeah, he was born middle-aged. It's middle-aged and sick of everything.
It's just the best movie that you'll see like that. of people cruising up and down the same street for an entire film.
That sounds really. That sounds very intriguing, and like I said, I've been meaning to get to it. It's just one of those movies that it's just in the back of my head, and I just never remember it when I'm like, oh, what do I feel like watching right now? And it's not on Netflix. That's the other problem.
No, it's not. I think my dad has it on DVD now.
Oh, okay, that's good. I'll definitely have to check it out. See if it's on Amazon for myself.
Okay, guys. So before we get to WWWtW,
I forgot to mention that off the top.
What we watched this week, I just gotta ask, where in terms of our previous rankings that we tossed out on the what was it, episode 9? That was our Star Wars episode. Back on that episode, where would you place The Last Jedi in those rankings?
Well, to be honest, I couldn't find my list from that time because I'm pretty sure I just winged it last time. So I just tried to wing another list. To be honest, I'm always like, my favorites are the original trilogy, or my 3 like big favorites.
For sure, yeah.
Right, and then I would say Revenge of the Sith is still up there for me, like tied for like 3rd or 4th, followed by The Force Awakens, and then I'd say The Last Jedi after that, and then the rest of them all just fall into the category of after that. So like Rogue One and then Clone Wars and so I think The Last Jedi is better than Rogue One, Phantom Menace, and Clone Wars, but everything else I still like better.
I would like to know what I was thinking when I made my list, because now I'm looking at it. And so my original list had A New Hope, then Jedi, then Empire, and The Force Awakens, but I feel like I probably should have The Force Awakens a little higher. So I'm going to put those 4 in together as a thing. And then
like when I was making this, I'm just like, I like Star Wars. Why do I have to pick, like, I don't pick favorite episodes of TV shows. Why do I have to pick a favorite Star Wars?
And I'm terrible at people being like, well, who's your favorite artist, music wise. So I'm gonna group those first 4 together. I'm gonna put The Last Jedi at number 5, and then the rest of them fall in where they lie.
What about you, Andrew?
Okay.
Because I don't feel like reorganizing that.
Yeah.
That's fair. So for mine, since coming up with the list, I've gone back and watched all of them all over again.
Yeah.
And I have a little tweaking myself to do.
Okay.
So in my original order, I had The Last Jedi. Not Last Jedi. I didn't have that there.
Hope not.
That is not number 1, guys. I take it back. That is not number 1. I'm not sure why that's there. I had Return of the Jedi. And then I had Empire. And then I had A New Hope. And then Rogue One, then The Force Awakens, then Attack of the Clones, then Revenge of the Sith, then The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
So, my rejigging, I'm going to have my 1A as Return of the Jedi still, my 1B, Empire, 2A, A New Hope. Now, 2B, where Rogue One used to be, I'm putting The Force Awakens there.
Okay.
And then for my 3A/B, because they're tied to me, is going to be The Last Jedi and Rogue One. They're tied.
Yeah, I
both
can see
sitting
that.
there. Followed by Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace.
Yeah, so I just held Revenge of the Sith slightly higher than you, just because it's more nostalgia for me than anything. Does that make sense? Because it was our Star Wars.
Absolutely,
it was our Star Wars.
Yeah,
it was the one that
it was the only
kids.
It was the only of the originals. I see it all as the original 6 because I never thought they'd make another one. It's the only one I saw
I agree with that. Yeah, 'cause like at the time, that's how we were all feeling too. It's like, oh, we're getting the prequels. Yep. This is gonna be the last Star Wars ever.
I was just excited that I finally got to see a Star Wars movie in theaters.
Exactly. I was happy that I was really happy that they were making new ones as I was like as a kid, at that perfect age to love Star Wars and fall in love with Star Wars and just love it my whole life and be exactly who Disney wants to go and see every one of the movies, which I will.
Movies too,
and all their merchandise,
like I said, they could kill everyone off at the end of Episode 9. Like the galaxy could end.
And I'd be curious where they're going to go with the next.
Cool, so where's Episode 10?
What are you doing with the next? Like, I want to know. For me, it's curiosity more than anything, and it just, the Star Wars universe has just such a great mythos and such a great concept that it's just like, I can imagine so many possibilities that I need them to just decide for me, in a sense. That's what the movies are for me.
That's why it really had kind of the most of it, like the most of any franchise I can think of, where there was just all this extra unlicensed extended additional
because they also
stuff.
Encouraged that stuff too.
Yeah.
And it's just
because everybody else was curious about it, and some people, like Timothy Zahn, were smart enough and creative enough to put it together.
Exactly. Like some people just went out and wrote these things, and it's like I'm happy that they do these things, because then I get to, like, instead of having to come up with because I can come up with so many stories, but the thing about me is there's too many. Like I
can't
just
flush it out
well,
either.
they could do that exactly, right? So I like somebody being decisive, and like that's my favorite part about Disney now having, especially, is like Disney. Yeah, they have a little bit of a formula, but they're willing to just keep making it for me, so I don't have to come up with Star Wars stories in my head myself. But should we get to what we watched this week, since we've already gone 15 minutes later than we thought, or half an hour later than we wanted.
You're welcome, guys.
Oh, it's Star Wars. Like we kind of have expected that to happen.
Absolutely. So you take off, Scott. You start us with your list.
Okay. Well, I started an Amazon Prime trial because I really wanted to watch the Grand Tour. The newest season got out like a month ago, and so I've been like watching that a little bit. I also watched Iron Man 2 for our countdown. And then Supergirl and The Flash came back, so I catched up on those episodes over the last couple days, as well as Black Lightning premiered, which I know Andrew hasn't gotten to seeing yet, I don't think, but it was
Not yet,
great. No. I highly recommend it. If you haven't watched any of the DC shows, you could check this one out, because it's just awesome. Like, old retired principal has to come back, put the superhero stuff on to protect his family. That's just... the core of what I love in a superhero, and it was really great and really enjoyable. And the beginning hook, they got like some like hip hop hook that it goes, Black Lightning is back, and I'm just like, oh, like I didn't do it any justice.
Black Lightning is back.
That's a little bit better, but they just I can't even do it justice. It was just so great that I was like, within the first minute, I was already just like, yes, give me more, just give me this whole season right now. Why can't I binge it already? But I'm super excited for that to keep coming out. That will be on Netflix starting next week, actually. I think Netflix will be one episode behind each week.
As they usually are.
Yeah, so, which is cool. But I had to check it out just because I didn't want to wait a week, to be honest. So I actually rented that online for once. I paid for something, that's right.
Holy crap.
Good advertising for yourself to
normally
keep the...
I actually been a lot better with that lately. I've stopped doing that because it's not even worth it anymore in these days. Like, there's nothing worth like illegally streaming. They're all garbage quality, and I'm just like, I'll pay the $1 to rent this for a day, and then I'll get the episode.
And you gotta understand, if everyone pays for it, they can make better stuff.
Exactly. Well, and I also can get like
they probably won't make it cheaper.
Well, you can also get a lot of my shows on CTV for free. Like that's legal, so I'm just like, okay, perfect. Yeah. You guys are giving it to me.
Because it's over-the-air broadcast in Canada, and you're a Canadian, you can watch it.
Well, they only put it on for one day though, so I had to like really be on top of my shit sometimes. Yeah.
It's good advertising for their TV for their stations though.
Yeah, well maybe they'll give me like
hooked on it because you miss it.
It's true though, because like I've considered being like, oh god, I want to watch that episode. I don't want to like try it. Like sometimes I don't feel like renting it, but it's like sometimes that's my only other option if I missed it on one of the free sites that are legal to watch it on, like CTV or Google, or not Google, Global, or something like that. There's a couple other Canadian channels that do put the episodes up, but they only do it for like a certain time.
And next thing you know, they've got you buying an antenna, and you're sitting down with your eyeballs on their CTV, like on an actual television, watching program television and watching all of their advertising, and they're like, we did it. We gave you free content, and we got all your money anyway.
It's 100% true, and I'm like pretty close. Like I said, I've considered it just because it doesn't matter. This is totally off topic. Back to what I watched this week.
We are a television and movie podcast. We can talk about the business.
That's fair. But let's talk about what else I watched.
WWWtW.
Yes, I also watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again, because that's also back. And I just started Young Justice. I just binged 7 to 8 episodes of it today.
Now, have you seen it before?
No, I had never seen it before.
Okay, so this is your first time.
Exactly. Like, I'd heard of it before, but I've always been a little resistant to newer superhero shows. I was a big fan.
It's really good. There's a few things here and there that I don't like it, but it's a totally new take on everything too.
That's my favorite part about
it. Which is what I like about it.
Yeah, like I like that this is I like the fact that it's a young Justice League, and I'm like, I've never really they went away from because they could have made just another Teen Titans, which is it's similar to, but it's different because they
it expands and gives you a lot more sidekicks.
Exactly.
Not at least in the first season.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
That's all I'm
the first season they give you mostly sidekicks, which is awesome because they come together and grow on their own, almost like the big guys. They're like, we're kind of sick of you. Yeah. We've done everything we can. Go figure out the rest yourself.
Which I like. Like they can't learn to grow their own wings. Like always being underneath their moms or dads, and mom or super dads.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But personally for me, I would rather see them, rather than put the money into this this live action show they're making, Titans.
Yeah.
Which, what's his name? Alan Richardson or whatever, the guy who's playing Hawk. He played Thad in BMS. Yeah. And he also played Aquaman in Smallville. Yeah. That dude is way too old to be playing a teenage character. For starters.
I think they're gonna position the Hawk and that as maybe the mentors of the group that
Hawk and Dove? I don't think so, because she looks young. And their characters in the comics, they were younger people too. They were 20.
That's fair.
They were young guys when they were
when I said Hawk,
the brothers.
In my mind I was thinking Hawkman, and then I realized no, he's just Hawk. And I'm
he's just Hawk and Dove are separate things.
If it was Hawkman, then that would make a little sense. That maybe
Carter Hall, it would totally make sense that he'd be
a mentor. For them,
But no, Hawk and Dove were young.
Think of that, because he's definitely 35.
Yeah, he's way too old to be playing, even if it's
in Smallville, which was 10 years ago.
Yeah, he's way too old to be playing a young dude.
Yeah.
But anyways, I would rather see them scrap that entire show and just give me a third season of Young Justice now, rather than me sitting around waiting for Warner Brothers to put out their DC streaming app.
Oh, that's when we're supposed to get it, right? Okay.
That's when it comes out, is when they put that out. And Lord knows when that's going to get dropped.
Yeah. God. Yeah.
It's supposed to get dropped sometime this year, but I mean, this year is a long time.
I don't know. I find it a little hard to believe. If anything, I feel like one of these couple that want to make their own, one of them should just buy Netflix, and then I don't have to get another subscription, and then they could just put it all on Netflix for me.
Or they should just give up and put it all on Netflix.
Yeah, I'd be happy if they all gave up and just put it on Netflix, and even Netflix. Maybe
all Netflix should do is just increase their subscription and buy that content.
Let's be real. What are we paying now? $11, $12 a month.
Yeah,
for the amount of content you get for that, make it even $15 a month.
Yeah.
$3 extra a person. The amount of millions of dollars a month they're gonna pull in.
Oh yeah, I think they broke 150 not too long ago. 150 million worldwide users. So. That's recurring every month, at least $10.
Yeah.
Right.
So make it an even 15
US dollars too.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to assume that it's at least $10 US per month per user.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go in, you make it an even 15. That's so much extra money, which will allow them to then let's be real, they make some good content themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Netflix sponsors some good content.
Is good. Even the stuff they've taken over is okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Give us 25 seasons of Big Mouth. Get every season of Bob's Burgers, buy it, and then keep it happening.
All I want on one day is 25 seasons of Big Mouth.
Yes, every day.
Just one day.
Just one day. Just release the entire thing, and I'll be
for Craig's birthday. I'm gonna be honest. I can't remember when Craig's birthday.
Craig dies from sitting there watching it all at once, not eating, not drinking, nothing, just dead from watching.
I did with the last season. Watched it all
yeah, you did.
I believe that.
I did.
But anyways,
I knew it was coming, and the day it came out, just sat down, and that was it.
Well, speaking of when you watched that, what did you watch this week, Craig? Because I'm done my
nice segue.
So
you segued better than I did this show.
I made the mistake of purchasing Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh, okay, so you've been playing a lot
completing the entire campaign
Did we just become a gaming podcast?
Yeah, I did the entire thing. I was
saying we should start a gaming YouTube channel because gaming channels do so much better.
They do. Yeah, it's because more people are interested in it. But the problem is that we're awful, so it'd be more of a comedy thing.
The problem is we're 20 and not good at games, whereas there's kids out there who are 8
I haven't played a video game
bad at games who are making money off it.
Months. It's been 8 months since I've touched a video game. Like
I rarely ever do,
suck.
but Battlefront 2. And the story's really
Star
good.
Wars.
I felt like I was watching a really long, like a mini series basically, and then playing along with it because it has a story and it's Star Wars related, so it's something I'm interested in. So I did that, which means that all I watched was 2 episodes of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and not even the new season, the old season, and Bob's Burgers.
Right on.
Because one has to watch Bob's Burgers.
Of course. It's funny you say that because my brother started to rewatch Bob's Burgers now too. I think he heard about us talking about it last week.
It's so good.
Oh, Will listens to the podcast from the other room.
No, I think he just overhears me shouting sometimes.
Oh.
He has to go to the washroom, so it's the hallway.
So Andrew, what did you watch this week besides Bob's Burgers?
Well, I'm going to complete the trifecta of at least someone related to the show watching Bob's Burgers, because that's what I did, and I finished it this week. I also started Young Justice today. Once you texted me about it, Scott, I was like, I'm going to watch a couple episodes tonight.
Yeah, nice.
I watched that. This week we've been watching Seinfeld at the shop just because it's a good time waster.
And which Seinfeld character do you most resemble, Andrew?
God, I'm thinking I'm George. Like, I don't want to be George,
really, but because George is really short and bald, and you're not either of those things.
Man, have you seen my hairline? I was watching earlier a video of our first video from the podcast, which was just 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And my hairline looks like it's receded through here more since then. So
I feel like it's probably a lighting trick.
Balding is a coming, and I have accepted it.
It's probably a lighting trick because you guys can't see it right now, but like the light from my lens flare above me is shining right on the spot that's receding on the left side of my head.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, it's just like there's a spotlight on the bare spot on my forehead. So I'm with you, Andrew. That it's a problem.
Bringing our listeners and our viewers behind the curtains. That is the reason I went back to my weird little rhino horn faux hawk. The way my hair naturally grows is because there's not as much pressure on the follicles, and they're not falling out as fast when it's this short as opposed to being long, where I have to kind of brush it back.
Yeah, that's fair.
So other than that, other than hair stuff and Seinfeld, I got back into Ray Donovan because season 5 comes out in a couple weeks, and I am very excited to watch that because it is like the most intense show I've ever seen.
Yeah, you like that? I've seen
it
around. I just haven't got to it checking it out yet.
Maybe it's the Irishman in me liking their Boston Irishness, but they do reference Boston a lot because they're from Boston in the show.
Boston.
Every episode
Boston
gets Boston.
The only thing we're missing is the Arnold impression.
Arnold.
There it is.
Oh, it's great. Now we got 2 big guys referenced. Yep. Big mouths, big guys. That sounded gross. Anyway, so I watched Ray Donovan, and which is disgraceful. And I watched Tom Segura's new comedy special, Disgraceful.
I watched that too. I completely forgot that. How did I forget that?
I haven't get to that yet because I had some trouble with my Netflix. That's a story for another time.
It's pretty good, and I just gotta tell you guys, now that the podcast is almost wrapped up, I want to go home. Which is a Tom Segura joke. I just want to go home. And the only other thing I watched this week, and I tweeted about it because I can't believe he's still around and people still pay to fucking see this guy, is Cat Williams.
Oh.
He has a new special that came out, Great America. I watched it start to finish. I may have chuckled twice.
You
may
poor,
have.
unfortunate man. As soon as you sent me the message about Cat Williams, I can hear his voice in my head, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Thank you.
I will not subject myself to that.
He had one good special.
It is not. He is not pimpin'. Okay.
Yeah, that was
it happened. Like he used to be funny, and then now I feel like he's just that washed up, disappointing guy.
He let the celebrity get to him a little too much. Like at first, it played into his persona, but then because
he thought he was a little pimp.
Exactly, and it it was funny when he was doing that on stage, but I think he took it way too into his personal life, and it just caused a lot of shit. And eventually, people get tired of your whiny ass bitchness. Like no one wants you. No one wants to deal with your fake ass.
Either that, or you become Kevin Hart, and they put you in movies everywhere.
Exactly. Well, and it didn't help that Cat Williams took to fight with like a 15-year-old and got his ass whooped.
Yeah.
Like ass whooped. I saw.
I mean, it doesn't help
his
that
ass was whooped. I could have taken that kid.
Cat Williams is the size of an 11-year-old, though.
Well, yeah, but this kid was like smaller than him. Like not smaller. They were about the same size. It wasn't the size advantage.
Which is unfortunate.
It was purely just Cat Williams
energy levels.
Shit about fighting. Shit about like just basic knowledge of trying to take someone to the ground is just you gotta make physical contact. He just wasn't doing it properly. His head was down. There's a whole lot of issues. I'm not a fight expert, but Cat Williams can't fight. That's all I'm saying.
We're not fight experts, but we are experts of saying thank you for listening to us this week. Episode 15 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast.
Which
Make
is
sure
a
you
gigantic number.
Gigantic.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And we have nothing prepared for episode 16. Spoilers, guys. We want you guys to point us in the direction of what we should do for our next episode.
Like every other week, except for this week and a couple weeks in December, we've not prepared.
So leave comments below. Tell us what you want us to talk about, and we will spice it up for you.
Thanks for listening this week, guys. Bye.